Hello and a warm welcome to Federal's special program, Capital Beat. Prime Minister Modi has embarked on a new narrative by mixing politicization of Operation Sindoor and the caste census. Now, despite all questions around the ceasefire, Trump's mediation, foreign ministers guffaw on informing Pakistan before the military strike, Modi has become the main rallying point, latching on to the valor of the armed forces. He has even silenced other BJP leaders. But how will this move by the Prime Minister help BJP for the coming months? Is he setting a new layer to the much hyped BJP's jingoism? Will warmongering now become the main plank of the election narratives? Does opposition stand completely defanged at this moment? Uh, Joining me this evening on all of this is a very special guest. We have Prem Shankar, who's the renowned author, columnist, and who's been the advisor to former Prime Minister VP Singh. So thank you so much for joining, Mr. Jha. And I think everybody wants to listen to you on this. What we are witnessing is a rampant politicization of Operation Sindoor. Now, why do you think, and I just want to start with that question, that Prime Minister has decided to go to various districts across the country now. He will embark on a tour. He's just finished a 2 days trip to Gujarat, and now he's going to Uttar Pradesh, then followed by Rajasthan. Then I think I've heard he's also going to Bihar. Now, what is Prime Minister really aiming to achieve through this, despite all criticisms? Let's keep that aside. But what is coming in terms of achievements as far as the Prime Minister is concerned? Is he trying to consolidate his image further?
Nilu, first thing is this whole thing, whole performance of his now is pure natak. All we have to do, and all the Congress needed to do instead of going sort of batshit of all kinds of minor issues, is to remind him that you said, I will leave it to the armed forces to decide what to do. The armed forces have decided what to do. The credit goes to the armed forces. What is the Prime Minister doing, saying that, trying to take credit for it? I mean, this is not only wrong, it's absurd. I mean, it's absolutely absurd. He did exactly the same thing in Manipur. He did not say a single word when for 3 months there were people being killed every day. So where he feels that he sent in the state forces, etc., some kind of uneasy peace eventually emerged in Manipur, but he never took any attempt to capitalize on that peace, however short-lived it was. Here, because the armed air forces have done something completely incredible. I think that no other air force had even thought of the things that they did. He's not trying to take the credit. If the people of India can't be so stupid as not to see that all he's doing is natak, and you ask me why he's doing it, I'll give you a counter question to that. Why he's doing it? How many days in the year does Modi actually go to the Prime Minister's office? I would love to know the answer to that. I'm prepared to bet it's less than 100 days. He's on the tour all the time, building his image, and whatever chance he gets, he does it. When he fails to get a chance, he turns on Muslims.
No, but what is
now,
this?
One more thing. One more point. The reason why he's doing this is that he's had a terrific shock by nearly losing the last election. Had the Congress not stupidly alienated Nitish Kumar when there was absolutely no need to do it, they would have, the Grand Alliance would have got 55. What is it? 35 out of 40 or 37 out of 40%.
That is Congress's problem. If Congress was not able to do that, that was Congress's fault. But can we blame the Prime Minister? He's latching onto an opportunity, and he's trying to further his narrative, and he wants to consolidate his position. So what's the harm? I mean, in terms of politics, if you look at, there can be 100 reasons to criticize the Prime Minister.
He can most certainly but anyway, anyone who's half half intelligent, and I can tell you the families of all the armed forces are intelligent. They know that if you say, I'm leaving it to the armed forces to decide what to do, that means that you, all the credit you can take that you for what you can take credit is that you, as a complete non-professional in the armed forces, have not tried to tell them anything. You left this thing to them. You left it for the first time, I think, in his life to the pure professionals. I give credit for that without any hesitation. But the rest of it is all natak born out of insecurity.
No, but looking at the wave of nationalism, what we have seen in 1971, that there was a Kargil war. We also saw what happened in 2019. But do you see this wave of nationalism as something very different, despite all the questions remaining on why the ceasefire happened, why Trump mediated, why Prime Minister has not chosen to go to areas like Poonch and Rajouri, but he chose to go to Bihar first, and then now Gujarat, and then he's setting off on a national tour after states. But
Yeah, stop.
this,
If you go on, I will lose my train of thought.
okay, sir, go ahead.
You don't have to tell me 5 questions at the same time because I really can't answer.
No, I'm just giving you a context.
First and foremost, he deserves credit for leaving it to the army, and victory in any form, or let us say, teaching Pakistan a lesson at the minimum cost in civilian lives is a major achievement. And even leaving it to the army is something for which he can take credit. And I can tell you right now, he's going to win the next election. There's no question about it in my mind. Okay, so he doesn't need to do anything. But just look at it. He doesn't need to do a single thing. He can go on TV and he can talk to the entire nation, and the nation will listen. He doesn't do that. He goes all the way to Bihar.
Right.
The thing is, he's actually running away from Delhi all the time because he still does not understand government.
No, but Mr. Jha, since you said that Prime Minister is surely going to form the next government, that is in 2029. So you have no doubts about that. But does it mean
nor should he have?
Okay, no. So what my question is about the opposition, that does the opposition now further stands defanged completely by the narratives which are being built by BJP?
The opposition is not being defanged by this narrative. All the opposition had to say is, we are proud of what our armed forces have done, and say nothing about Modi. The fact is that the opposition today is a joke. Its centerpiece is Congress, which happens to be guided by 2 people who never spent a day in administration in their lives. Let's be quite clear. Who do not listen to the most intelligent voices in the thing. Listen to Shashi Tharoor's, press thing. I have never heard a more precise, cogent, and convincing statement on what happened in the war. And yet, they won't even, they're not even congratulating him for it. They're not even claiming that he's there. They're saying, oh, he was picked by Modi. So what's wrong with that? That means you're an even bigger fool not to have used your best asset. I think that the leaders of the Congress are the biggest enemies of democracy in this country today.
But where do you think that the opposition went wrong? You said that the opposition should have just praised the armed forces and not spoken about Modi. But I think Congress, and in fact all of the opposition parties, they did commend the armed forces. But at the same time, they also raised questions, and those questions were not wrong. That why did the ceasefire happen? Was that a wrong question? Then they raised the question about why Prime Minister didn't have time to go to
Poonch. Before I forget, you're asking 4 or 5 questions. Please, just one question. Why did they say? What did you say about the ceasefire? You say I've forgotten. What did you ask about the ceasefire?
Oh, I said opposition did ask questions on ceasefire. So was it wrong?
All right, I'll answer that. They should have welcomed the ceasefire. They should have given credit to the armed forces for their restraint. They should have said, Pakistan approached us first, which means they recognized that this was going to be catastrophic if it went on. Now, next question that comes from that, which you also asked me, is what was Trump's role in this, and why are we sort of getting so worked up about Trump? The truth of the matter is that you want me to continue, or you want to ask another question? I'd be happy to wait.
Uh, no, but my point is that coming back to the question on the prime minister, and then again I'll go back to the opposition. That in terms of polarization, now we've seen a lot of Hindu-Muslim happening in the country, but during the Operation Sindoor, also we saw a lot of Hindu-Muslim narrative, like Colonel Sofia Qureshi's family. They were called in by the collector that okay, you reach Vadodara and then you have to shower petals on the prime minister, and those optics were playing out across the TV channels through the prime time, that here you had a colonel's family, and that imagery of a Muslim armed force personnel being there and showering petals on the prime minister. So is this a new kind of nationalism or a new kind of narrative which Prime Minister Modi is
You
trying to showcase?
you answered yourself that Sofia Qureshi's family was compelled to go and do this. That is theater. And the fact that it got known, yes, among us, the intelligentsia, that discredits Modi, but he didn't need discrediting among us. We know what he is. He's a showman. But among the ordinary people, it will make no difference. Modi is not interested in us. He's not interested in the English speakers. He's not interested in those who are who are educated and who are well-to-do. We are the lieutenant's elite. He's only interested in the people who actually vote, and that is why he has done that. I'm glad that Sofia Qureshi's people have talked about this, because this is wrong. And it is wrong in the sense that you are denigrating the patriotism of a Muslim woman officer who is involved in this army. There are so many Muslims in our army, for God's sake. Two or three, at least three of the Paramvir Chakras that have been won by Muslims, beginning with Brigadier Osman, in Kashmir. So, the point is this. To me, this is natak made in such a way as to keep the Muslims the target of Hindu anger, and therefore to doubly make sure of his victory, which in any case is sure. This is the paranoid insecurity of Mr. Modi, and I think Mr. Shah.
But how do you think, what about those questions which are there as far as ceasefire is concerned, Trump's mediation is concerned? Also the bit that the foreign minister informed Pakistan about the military strikes and not attacking the military installations, but attacking the terror camps. What would you really say to these questions? These questions still remain unanswered.
What is the question? The question is, Trump intervened. Was it a good or a bad thing? Is it a denigration of our sovereignty that Trump had to intervene? Actually, first and foremost, you've left it to the army. Most of them don't even know what Trump said. But secondly, I'll tell you something very important about Trump. This is not the first time he has done this. It's the second time. The first time was over Pulwama. Trump made quite sure that when we counterattacked, he accepted the idea of a counterattack. He said, make sure it misses. All this Israeli fantastically accurate bombs went 15 feet above the madrasa. Second, when Pakistan retaliated, it destroyed 4 uninhabited buildings. The only casualty in this entire surgical strike of that time was one man, a villager who was out in the forest where the missiles hit. And I have seen the video of the ISI officers or the army officers consoling the son's child, saying, "Bache, khush raho, tumhare pitaji shaheed bane hain." So now, you ask me, Trump has did exactly the same thing now. And how can they do that? There is something that has been there for a long time, a thing called Operation Eagle Eye. This is 5 and now probably 7 or 8 places where there are huge receivers for every single electronic communication in the world. All these are fed into an 80 square kilometer computer system in Fort Meade outside Baltimore. Now, that by the way is also being expanded. So there is not a single word anybody Indian government speaks, for that matter, even you or I speak, which is not being recorded and sifted by a very elaborate system. So Trump knew about this, has always known about it, as every American president has known about every country in the world. Trump, at that point in time, the other thing, the thing that gave this away, and I wrote about it, was that the day before our strike, Trump made two press statements on India Pakistan in the same day, and in the second one he said, "I've told them, I've asked them, and they've said they will not, do anything, whatever, not minimize the casualties." He said, "I hope they will not attack." But then he said, significantly, if India does attack, I will understand it. Now, read that and read today. Trump, with this whole idea that why has Trump intervened? Trump has intervened because he intervened before. And I welcome that intervention. We are two nuclear states, for God's sake. If things go wrong, you and I will not even know when we died. That's true of the whole of Delhi. Let's be realistic about this. I mean, the fact that the Congress is raising these pathetically idiotic statements shows that this is a party that is not fit to govern India. I've lost the voice.
Yeah.
No
What I'm
voice.
saying is that Prime Minister now is moving from one state to the other. After Gujarat, now he is going to set out for the next tour, and we've seen him being welcomed, by the cutouts of BrahMos missile, posters of Operation Sindoor. Prime Minister dressed up in that bulletproof jacket and holding a helmet in his hand. Is this a new kind of jingoism which he's trying to inculcate within the people, and which goes to show that is war now, or warmongering, going to become a part of the election narrative?
No, I do disagree with you here again. Although, as you know, I'm not an admirer. If he had done all this before the attack, it would have been jingoism. The attack is over. The ceasefire is done. There's been minimum civilian casualties on both sides, and they approached us first for the ceasefire. Remember, in every sense of the term, our Indian armed forces triumphed, and yet at almost no cost. The world is amazed and aghast at the sophistication of the deception technologies and oversight technologies that the Indian Air Force showed, because they don't have them. It's quite amazing, and I'm very proud of them for this. Really proud of them. But so is the rest of the country. For anybody today to make carping comments about this is actually aiding Modi.
Right. Okay, so now what should the Congress and the other opposition parties should be doing when you create a national narrative like this? Obviously, the regional parties don't have much to say as far as the national security is concerned, but what should the opposition now be doing?
Just praising the army, getting as much information on the discretion and the way that they have done it, exactly what Shashi Tharoor did. That should be the line word for word for the Congress. But the trouble with the Congress is anybody who's intelligent gets kicked out of the party. There were 23 people 23 of the most experienced and best people, who wrote to Mrs. Gandhi saying we should be talking about issues. And here are 5 issues that are very important and we should talk about. Before even that letter got to Mrs. Gandhi, there was an uproar in the Congress party offices saying these people are treacherous. They're daring to threaten Mrs. Gandhi by saying, if you don't do this, then we should leave the party. And the fact of the matter is, most of them have not left the party, but they've not been brought into any single decision-making position at all. And the people who are making decisions today are quite literally, to tell you, political illiterates. And I start with Rahul Gandhi.
But Mr. Jha, with the kind of narrative now which is woven, because if you remember during the Operation Sindoor, in the middle of that, there was a cabinet committee on political affairs, and all of a sudden government of India decided to bring in a caste census also along with the population census. I mean, that's a different story altogether, when that population census will be done and how will they do it, all keeping all those questions aside. But I'm sure that will also become a part of the narrative of the BJP. So now, how will BJP take all this together? They will have a nationalism in their kitty. They will also have a caste census narrative with them. Prime Minister has already silenced other BJP leaders, and he's going to be the sole talker. He's the one who's going to communicate. So, uh, does do the people of India now have a choice for which narrative they go in as far as BJP is concerned, or they will go for Prime Minister Modi's image, his charisma, and the way he's consolidating himself?
Nilu, would you please tell me the first question you asked, because I've again lost your thread.
No, what I'm saying, Mr. Jha, is that all said and done, Prime Minister is trying to consolidate his position, right? So, are the people of the country,
Caste census, right?
yes,
Okay, let me
will they go in for the narrative of the caste census, or will they go in for
I've
the
got
national?
it. I've got it. Let me tell you the answer before I again forget. Remember, I'm 86 years old. Okay.
No,
Now,
no issues.
no, okay. The caste census is Modi's way of retreating from an impossible position that he created when he talked about the delimitation of constituencies. 5 southern states told him, in effect, in public, in mild language, but in effect, they said, you start doing that and we will break away from India. That delimitation would have given 803 seats out of instead of 542. UP's seats would have gone up from to 160 or 180, and the number of seats for the entire 5 states would have gone in the south would have gone down by 20. This would have immediately broken the fundamental ethno-national consensus upon which is the essence of the constitution and which is the reason for our unity. And Modi has backed away by doing something else, which distracts attention, which is also required. But the caste census was actually asked for first and done first by the Congress. So, I mean, why the hell does the Congress not say that, look, this is our idea that you're trying to steal? Don't you remember a little while ago he was attacking them over the idea of caste census? I don't understand the absolute lack of basic political intelligence that exists in the Congress today. Basic political intelligence. This is not a party that can ever form a coalition against Modi. Now, next year, or even in 1935, whenever. The point is this: they cannot, because they just haven't got the cohesion. The thing. They have many technical people who do excellent work in specific small areas, but putting them together into policy is an entirely different matter. And it comes out of instinct, brain plus instinct. And that political instinct, which Modi has more than any other political leader today in the whole world. And mind you, again, I'm an inveterate critic of Modi for everything he has done on the religious front. To destroy Indian syncretism. But the fact is that Modi understands this better than almost any other leader in the world.
But what will happen to the other BJP leaders eventually? If Prime Minister is the one who's going to be the sole talker in the party now, as he has put a gag order on other leaders not to speak on Operation Sindoor, will it not lead to some kind of confusion or some kind of a frustration? Will it creep up? Because we've seen in the past many leaders like Vijay Shah and Jagdish Devra, who spoke out of turn, and they spoke few things about Colonel Sophia Qureshi, which was not acceptable. So, what kind of churning would it lead to as far as BJP is concerned within BJP?
I think what is actually going to happen in the BJP was what was happening was a very strong move by Mohan Bhagwat, who intensely dislikes both Modi's way of governing and also his consistent attacks on Muslims. Bhagwat keeps saying they are of the same Sanskriti as us. For God's sake, it was our fault with the caste system that made them become Muslims in the first place. Mohan Bhagwat has said this over and over again in the most important speeches of his life, including the one from Nagpur. Now, what Modi has done is he has put Bhagwat on the back foot through the use of nationalism. And therefore, I think that the idea that he should listen to his own law and resign at at the age of 75, which is being touted very, 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 very openly within the RSS, that has now died a natural death. Modi will be there till 2029.
But in the end,
Really,
so right, sorry. Yes.
you
So Mr. Jha,
understand, I have this problem, Niru, that I really do need to deal with at most one or two questions at a time. I'm no longer
no, no, no,
able
sir.
to.
That's no, no. That's perfectly okay. What I also wanted to ask you was that you've seen the period of 1971 when Indira Gandhi won the war. Then there was a Kargil, and then now, do you find any kind of change in which Modi conducts himself and the manner in which Indira
Indira
Gandhi
Gandhi
conducted
did
herself here?
only one difference to Indira Gandhi's credit. The killing of Hindus, what the Pakistan army called turkey shoots in the bar when they got back at night and got drunk. The turkey shoots had already begun, and almost five out of the 10 million Hindus who eventually came to India had already come. Almost half of the 1 million people, Muslims who had fled, had also already come. Mrs. Gandhi wanted the army to go in straight away. Manik Shah said to her, Madam, if you ask me to go now, I shall resign. Then he explained, he said, this is the monsoons. Our tanks will get bogged down. They'll be shot to hell. We won't even get a few kilometers inside Pakistan before we are repulsed. Please leave the army decisions to us. In the meantime, prepare the ground for us with intelligence, operations, and the Mukti Bahini was created out of that. Now Modi's learned that full lesson as Indira Gandhi did. But the point is, Indira Gandhi was first, and she was absolutely spontaneous. She was, in many ways, a very great lady. She made a few mistakes, but at critical moments, she took very courageous decisions. And this is only one of many.
Right. But do you think that what Prime Minister Modi is now further going to do is that, there are questions that he should retire once he's 75. His birthday
Forget it.
is around the corner.
Just forget
He's
it.
not going to retire. No, but
No
he's
one's going to
consolidated.
even ask him.
What about RSS?
They're not going to ask him. If they do, they are much of the RSS will turn against Bhagwat.
Okay, that's interesting.
Or it may come a year later. That's perfectly possible. Bhagwat could say, you've done very great things, wonderful, you've been a good prime minister, but rule, and it is our RSS's rule that we don't break rules. But he will wait for the right time to say it.
Right.
This is not it.
Right. So, which means you are saying that he is not going to quit, and RSS will not ask him. So, which means that Modi becomes much more.
This will postpone this.
Okay. So they will postpone this. But what
about allies? In the meantime, Modi is continuing to build himself up, not so much because he is worried about elections anymore, but he's building himself up, this going around and all this stuff that he's doing, to tame the RSS.
Okay, taming the RSS, and that is the objective. But how would you think that the allies of BJP, how are they going to respond? They will kowtow to what he's saying completely. They will surrender. They've already surrendered.
Let me say very simply, had even now, even say a month earlier, had the Congress reached out in some way to Nitish Kumar, apologized, said, look, we made a mistake, stay here, but please remember that we are committed to a different agenda, and if Modi departs far from it, please leave him and come back. Chandrababu Naidu does not like Modi. I can tell you exactly what he said after the 2002 Ahmedabad riots. The next year, there was an election in Andhra, and uh, against 40 to the election 2002, the next general election, from getting 40 to 40 for the Telugu Desam for 2 against Congress. Mind you, this was pre-Telangana creation. It reversed, and they got completely thrown out. And Chandrababu Naidu said in public, this has happened to us because we were with the BJP and we did not leave them at the time of the Ahmedabad riots. So Chandrababu Naidu is also not there. But I can tell you something now. Neither of them, after this, will leave that party. Because they're sitting on a winning horse. Again, lost. Can't hear you, Needu.
No. I'm saying my last question to you, that you're saying that BJP is almost sitting on a winning horse. So, which means that the opposition is losing out completely, and no amount of questions which are raised by them are fruitful.
The only 2 political parties which could have contained him in anything extreme that he wanted to do are not now going to go against them. They have no faith in the Congress. They have no faith in... See, there's got to be someone who has got the capacity to knit people together into a program and not just make catty comments, in Parliament. You did this, you said this, then this is what you're saying now. That is not politics. That is a parliament.
Rahul Gandhi is doing a good job as a leader of the opposition?
Tell me one single thing that he has said or done which relates to the conditions of the working class today. 83% of people between 16 and 30 today don't have jobs. 54% of those people, or more, maybe 70, 80, because it's a partial list, have BAs, MAs, and technical degrees. And the skill formation India, the other group, said that more than half of these people, the technical education they have is not sufficient to get them any job in industry. Now, this is the actual real situation here. Second, what is happening to justice? What happens to justice to the poor? They go miles to a court. They pay huge sums. There's no limit being put, as in America, on how much you can charge for a particular case, for a particular category. So a lawyer does not turn up. I faced this myself. He does not turn up at thing he's been called for, or the judge does not turn up. The lawyer goes, spends 10 minutes there, comes back and bills me for half the cost of what I would have to pay had he actually spoken even 2 words there. Now, the poor cannot afford justice. At the same time, look at the conditions of the judicial system. There are 37 million, now maybe 40 million cases in arrears. At the rate in which these people get deliver judgments, it will take 120 years just to do these 40 million. What about the cases that are coming in their thousands and millions every year? Our justice system is completely broken down. In the same thing had happened in Kenya, and there was a man called Sharad Rao, who incidentally was a cousin of Girish Karnad, who was the Attorney General there with Jonjo. And when whatever his name was, Moy became president, he kept him on as the judge to clear the arrears. Would you believe it? If Kenya had similar arrears, Sharad Rao cleared them all. One judge cleared them all in 4 years. It can be done here too. I've been told by a former Chief Justice of India that more than half the cases pending are appeals, and of these, the vast majority are appeals by government officers against decisions that went against them. Because if they don't appeal, they're going to be held up, responsible for a failure, and they will not get their promotion. This is the situation in our country. The poor pay like hell for justice they never get. Absolutely. 80% of the people in Tihar jail are under trials. Can you believe it? Is there any other country in the world which you get? Even the worst of tyrannies does not have figures like this.
No,
We
but
are a terrible, broken down democracy. Let's have no illusions about it. And the Congress is not the party that can repair it.
one last question, and I'm tempted to ask that is whole narrative around democracy, freedom of expression, all what we've seen. I mean, you have a Professor Mahmoodabad, who's written a post and he is sent to jail. Likewise, yesterday there was a case where there's a girl from the Pune Engineering College. She was sent to the jail, and the courts now are coming to rescue. What about these things? Will a narrative like this not impact the mindset of the people in any way?
I can tell you one thing. There is kind of slavish respect for the police and their interpretation of the law, which goes back to the British days. In the British days, too, the one really corrupt organization in India was the police. This is well known. My father was in the ICS, and I know this from my childhood. Okay. Now, the point is that that situation is 10 times worse today. You look at the crime in India statistics. Up to a certain time, they gave data on cases against the police. Now that has been dropped. And the numbers are horrifying. If you go back to the old reports. So I think that the problem here today is that our democracy has really broken down completely, and it has the inevitable result of that is the rise of a dictator. uh, Modi happens to be using the Hindu-Muslim card, but I'm predicting one thing today. He's feeling much more secure than before. The Hindu-Muslim card will be played very little in the next 4 years.
Okay, so the Hindu Muslim card is going to play further. It could go more aggressive. Thank you so much.
Very little.
Pardon, sir?
It will be paid very little in the next 4 years because Modi no longer needs it.
Okay, interesting. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for joining on the Federal. Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me, Nilu. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you, sir.